Hi everyone, it's Tom with the LEC preview of the second week of the LEC Spring Split 2022. We just had the Super Weekend behind us and the teams have already had their dips into the fire, for some at least. The others had a more calm opening to the LEC. So let's look at the standings, how the teams are doing, and look obviously at the matches that they're going to be playing in this second week. So looking at the standings, I'm going to go bottom up to discuss my thoughts on the teams a bit. At the very bottom, we find Vitality with an 0-3 score. And obviously, this is a big shake-up, a big wake-up call, I guess, also for Vitality, but a big surprise to many people. They played against Mad Lions, Fnatic, and XL, and didn't play clean League of Legends in any of those games and got whooped pretty hard. Now, Vitality obviously has a lot of expectations for themselves heading into the Spring Split with their super team, Alfari, Selfmade, Perks, Karji and Labrov. The expectations are that they should be at least contesting for the title. So is this 0-3 already doomed? Well, of course, everybody likes to meme, and some people deliberately exaggerate how impactful this is. But if I look at the opponents they played against, Mad Lions is the reigning champions and kept 3 of their players and is very good at scouting rookies. So they naturally are at least a sub-top contender in the LEC. And then you have Fnatic, who they themselves have a super team with the roster they have. So I don't think those losses are too harsh. Obviously, the loss against XL hurts, but the XL has the benefit. I think that they kept 4 of the players from last year, so they have that synergy already going. Vitality has players from all over the place. They have 5 players from 4 different teams if you look at last year, and they are going to need time to get adjusted to each other. You cannot expect this team to hit the ground running, in my opinion. There are going to be mistakes. Obviously, I also expected them to do better than what they did. I thought they would at least win against XL of any of these teams, right? In terms of raw power, Vitality should be better. But the fact that they did lose in the fashion in which they did doesn't make me so concerned about the future of Vitality just yet, because their schedule is kind of rough. If you look at the opponents overall, you did see some moments of okay play in their game, in all of their games actually. It's just that individually they are good, but the synergy just isn't there yet, and that's something that needs time. That, you know, you have 5 players who all have very distinct identities in their play, so I don't think you should draw any harsh conclusions on them yet. Astralis looked very bad in all of their games. I put them in my tier list at the very bottom, that they wouldn't even be contending for the playoffs. And you can make the same arguments with Vitality, obviously, that Astralis has has 2 new players, so maybe they need time to integrate, but I didn't even see those flashes of what could be very good at Astralis, aside from maybe 1 or 2 team fights in the entire weekend where I thought, okay, you know, there is something there. So they're obviously not going to go 0-18. I'm going to clip that in the future if if they are going to go 0-18, because, you know, any upset can happen, but I don't have very high hopes for Astralis. XL went 1-2. And they lost against G2, BDS, and then won against Vitality, but they arguably could have won all 3 games if you look at how they were playing. I think they had a real shot, especially against BDS. They ended up throwing, but winning against Vitality is obviously very good. This could actually be the year that XL makes playoffs. I think if you look at the other teams that they have to compete with for a playoff spot, they are definitely the most... They have the most solid chances if you look at their lineup overall and the potential that they have. So I think XL did fine. I would have liked to see them win that game against BDS to give me a bit more confidence, but also there is some time for them to adjust. Last year in the summer split, they were able to play a lot around Marcoon as a carry jungler when he came in the middle of the summer split, and this year it's different, so they need time to adjust that as well. I wonder if they are able to do that. Obviously the meta shifted more to the bot lane now, where they have Patrick, who is a very good player and can also carry, so I hope for XL that they can make that work. I'm not very impressed yet with their overall level of play. But they are definitely a playoffs contender if you look at how they hit the ground running against G2, BDS, and Vitality. I think a 1-2 score is underwhelming, but they had very good points in their play. They just need to be able to close it out, but they have a whole split to get to that point. Team BDS is a bit of a fiesta at the moment. Again, similar to Vitality, you have a lot of players from a lot of different teams coming in. They have most of them, except from Limit, have played on K-Corp before, so they have that bond, I guess. And maybe, and many of their players have actually played with each other before as well. Still, you have a lot to figure out when it's LEC with rookies, with very young players. I would say that against Misfits, they should have won, whereas they only won against Excel. I still think that against Fnatic, BDS even had a shot there, but in terms of raw power, Fnatic just won there. So I don't know. Overall, I would say that BDS kind of started as I expected. They have a lot of growing to do, but I expect this team to only reach somewhat of what it can truly be in the middle of the summer split. So I'm going to give them a lot of time. Obviously, keep an eye on the individual developments, but for this first weekend, it's kind of what I expected. Very chaotic. Didn't really know what to do in order to adapt to opponents. So we'll see how that develops over the course of the spring split. SK Gaming then did actually start okay. I think they, so to recap, they lost against Rogue, won against Mad Lions, and then lost against Fnatic. I thought they probably would have gone 0-3 in this opening weekend, but winning against Mad Lions is very impressive from them. I think Jezu and Treats had a particularly good weekend, in my opinion, compared to the rest of that team. I think that they are the ones who should be able to lead that team to their victories, and they were against Mad Lions. I still think that this team is at most a playoffs hopeful, that they might make it to the playoffs, but not much further. But I was pleasantly surprised by how they performed in the opening week. Then we have G2 Esports, won against Excel, Astralis, and lost versus Mad Lions. I was very impressed by Flacket and Targamas in the bot lane. I did not expect them to come out of the gate swinging this strongly. And Broken Blade in the top lane was, as expected, very good. Their loss against Mad Lions is excusable, but I still think they had a better shot at winning that than what the result may indicate. So I think G2 could have very realistically gone 3-0 at the same time. Their overhaul is probably a bit more rigorous than that of Mad Lions. So I think that you should cut G2 some slack. They had an okay opening weekend. The new players impressed me. Caps was a delight to see as well, popping off in a few games. Jankos was performing very solidly. So I think G2 overall can be happy with their result. Mad Lions then also at a 2-1 score, won against Vitality, then lost against SK Gaming of all teams, and then won against G2. So yeah, they won against the good teams on paper and lost against the bad team on paper. Obviously, highlights of last weekend was Unforgiven, their new ADC, who I did mention as a player to watch in an article for Upcomer, because people didn't know what to expect from him heading into the LEC. I didn't know what to expect from him heading into the LEC, but as I said in the article, if he is scouted by Mad Lions at this point, you should be hopeful for what he brings. And he delivered. First game he played on Cartus and won. Very impressive play from him overall. Showed to be very adaptable, showed to be able to lead. Elyoya performed very well. Armwood was fine, I think. Just, nothing too great, nothing too bad in my opinion. And Reeker was okay. I hope to see a bit more for somebody who was so desired in the offseason by many teams. Kaiser was a bit too enthusiastic. I think he hinted a bit here and there. Was a bit too greedy now that he doesn't have Karzi anymore to go with him when he goes in. He needs to be able to push the brakes a little bit more. But at the same time, he likes to push his limits every now and then. And this is a great way of finding them. And he has teammates who can back him up in case he doesn't perform so well. So didn't mind his performance too much, but it was a great performance from the great Kaiser that we all know. Misfits is also 2-1, which in my opinion was a bit of a surprise because I expected them to be worse. I actually predicted them to end 9th in the Spring Split overall, but looking at Astralis, you can say, okay, that's in my opinion the 10th best team, so the worst team in the LEC. So I kind of expected them. I could have seen them winning that one. It's not a big surprise. Losing against Rogue is also not a big surprise. But winning against BDS, I think that was pretty impressive. Overall, if I look at the team, I do think that most of it still has to come from Veteo in the mid lane and Herewith in the top lane. I think those two are the pinnacle players in the team right now. But I have to say, the amount of effort it took for Misfits to win against a team like BDS, given both teams' experience and how I see their rosters, I was, I wasn't too impressed with Misfits. So overall, they should obviously be happy with their results in the weekend, and they can learn a lot, especially from the loss against Rogue, in what they need to improve. But it's chaos. They entered the league a bit higher in terms of performance than I thought they would, but I have yet to be convinced how much growth there is possible in this team because they don't have a veteran in the lineup that can guide them in game. So this was very scrappy, it was very chaotic, but I'm very skeptical whether or not that is going to improve over the course of the split because they just don't have that experience on the roster to get them there and to walk them through different scenarios. So we'll see how they do in the upcoming weekend. Then we have Rogue and Fnatic, both at 3-0. There's a lot of caveats for me here, actually, both in a negative sense, because it sounds very impressive going 3-0. But Rogue played against SK, Misfits, and Astralis, which in my opinion would be the 8th, 9th, and 10th team in the LEC. So they played against very bad teams. Rogue looked very clean, obviously. Oramne was super good, super consistent across all 3 games. Then we obviously had Malrang, who was very good, especially towards the end of the weekend. Comp was very consistent throughout the weekend. Larsen was the one who was kind of holding team back in terms of his own performance. But I think he just needs to find his new role in the team. I spoke with him in the interview on this YouTube channel as well about his results. And yeah, it's, I don't know. It's tough for him, I guess, to find a spot without Inspired, a carry jungler, and he needs to be able to step up to that carry role himself now. So we'll see if he is able to do that. Fnatic also goes 3-0, winning against BDS, Vitality, and SK Gaming, but every game of them was flawed, and every game of them was quite hard fought. So I think, even though obviously Wunder had that fantastic outplay in the top lane against Vitality, after that, Fnatic couldn't really capitalize very quickly on any leads that they had. And Hylissang had a fantastic weekend. I have to say, I was so impressed. Obviously versus BDS, that guy was playing out of his mind. But I still think Fnatic has a lot of errors to figure out. And even though Fnatic is at 3-0 right now and Vitality is 0-3, if I look at both their schedules, where Vitality played against Mad, Fnatic, and Excel, and Fnatic played against BDS, Vitality, and SK, and if I look at the flaws they make, I think both teams are flawed, and Vitality lost 3 because they are maybe 2 steps behind Fnatic, and Fnatic is 2 steps ahead of them in working things out, but I don't think the difference is as big as the score indicates right now, so I definitely think that these 2 teams are going to grow much closer to each other in the split, and they both have a lot of growing to do, so I definitely expect them to drop games unexpectedly. Well, I expect them to unexpectedly drop games. I still, for example, would predict them to win against a team I don't know, like Excel, I think Fnatic would win against Excel, but they might lose it because they are just not clean yet. So, with that all done, with that all said, let's look at the preview now. You've been waiting long for it, but I've put the timestamps in the description, so you should be able to skip forward if you want to cancel or not listen to me blabbering. So we kick off with Misfits versus Excel, and I expect Excel to win this because they have 4 players of the same roster still there. They just have better synergy going on. Misfits barely has any synergy. and relies on individual performances. So I think Excel will win this. But Excel has trouble closing things out, so perhaps if Misfits pick a comp that skills well, they will eventually win. Obviously, I don't necessarily call for Veteo to play like a Kassadin to immediately win when he reaches level 16, but play, for example, more something like a Victor and maybe something like a Lulu in the bot lane, which works well with Neons and Filials, which he likes to play a lot. If you play something like this, even though Aphelios isn't really in the meta right now, it's more about Jinx and Jhin. I still think that something like this could help win them against Excel. And then we go to Astralis versus Fnatic. I think Fnatic win this. It's just overall better team, and Astralis didn't have much hope. G2 versus SK Gaming. It's going to be interesting in the bot lane because Flagon and Targamas against Jezu and Treats is going to be the focal point for me in this matchup, because both of these bot lanes have a lot of weight on them. I think for SK Gaming, their win condition is through bot. So that puts a lot of pressure on Flacket and Targamas. On the other hand, G2's entire top side is stronger, much stronger in my opinion than that of SK. So perhaps G2 says, okay, we'll leave bot lane and just try to go for, go for early Rift Heralds, use that to push a lane and use those to get to the Drake pit and without SK being able to contest, something like this. But overall, I expect G2 to win. BDS versus Vitality, it's fun because it's the two French organizations. Technically, BDS is owned by a Belgian millionaire, but in the end, they still have both of a large French fan base. I still expect Vitality to win this. I think it's silly not to bet on a team as star-studded as Vitality to win a game against BDS, which just has a lot less experience. But obviously, Vitality has their flaws in their synergy, and BDS has been able to grab a win, even though their consistency is all over the place. They don't really have consistency in their play. They don't really know how to use any momentum that they have in the game. I still think Vitality will win this because it's just, I expect them to have learned a lot from their opening week and to step it up massively in this week. And then we close out today with Rogue versus Mad Lions versus Rogue, whatever. The two best teams last spring split, they both reached the finals, where Mad Lions obviously reverse swept Rogue. I think Mad Lions is going to win this, actually. I think Rogue, even though they were very impressive in their opening week, had a very easy schedule. Mad Lions did not as much with Vitality and G2 in the menu, and they were both able to win that one. So I think that for this matchup, mostly what I'm going to look at is the mid lane, where Elyoya in his opening week, this split, hovered a lot around the mid lane to help out Reeker. And Larson obviously had a very tough time in the mid lane last week. So I think that that's going to be very important for this match. And if Mad Lions is able to close that down, they should be fine, because in the bot lane, I think they will be fine. I think Comp and Trimby is maybe a little bit better at the moment than Unforgiven and Kaiser, but that's only because Kaiser had a rough opening week. So I think that for him, he will step it up a lot comparatively. So I don't think it's going to be this much of a problem. If I think more about it, I think in the end the bot lanes are pretty similar at the moment in terms of strength. Comp and Unforgiven both have very good performances in terms of the support. I do think Kaiser's a little bit better. It is better than Trimby, definitely has a higher ceiling at the moment, but it's just about the shape they're in. So I would kind of put them even based on last week. Still, Mad Lions expected to win there. Saturday, we start off with SK versus Excel. I expect Excel to win this. So yeah, I hope for Excel that they are able to close out what it could be a 2-0 weekend. It's just that that clutching power is really something that is very important for a team to be able to know what to do with your lead. And obviously, they didn't really know what to do with that last week. So SK, on the other hand, were able to fight back from some positions, not very consistently, and it was just glimmers of possible strength that they had. But you did see a few times, for example, against Mad Lion, against Fnatic where they were behind, or against Rogue especially where they were behind but still were able to do some things from behind. It wasn't very consistent and it wasn't very pretty, but they had that fighting power, and I think XL lacks that a bit more. So I think XL will win, but SK definitely is not without a shot here. Mad Lions versus Astralis. Mad Lions wins that. No need to spend more time on that. BDS versus Rogue. I do expect Rogue to win. They just have better players on their roster, more experience. They have better synergy going on. So I think it's going to be a very classic Rogue game where they're just very dominant and don't do too many flashy plays, but just methodically dissect their opponent. Misfits versus Fnatic. I expect Fnatic to win because Fnatic, even though they have clear flaws in their synergy and in their team play, and they aren't very good yet at making sure that they have everything covered, you know, every window that the opponent could sneak back through to get into the game. They're not very good at closing those out yet. I don't think Misfits is a team that currently is able to find those windows, let alone go through them. So I expect Fnatic to win. And then we have Vitality versus G2 as the match of the week. I am very excited for this one because it's Perks versus Caps. I think in terms of, you know, G2 having dominated the past years, aside from last year, but was obviously the strongest team for years in the LEC. Vitality is looking to be that new team. I think that is going to be very exciting. Both these teams are definitely not in top shape yet. Vitality is evidently not there yet. G2 also has their flaws very clearly. But in terms of firework, I expect there to be a lot of them in this game. So in the end, I do think G2 is going to win this. Even though Perks and Selfmade and Alfari might all be wanting to go guns blazing against G2, I think the team synergy isn't there yet. So I do think that G2, because they don't have as much pressure on their shoulders, I don't think they need to prove themselves that much. I think they have a calmer approach, are just going to be able to execute their strategies with a clearer mind and use that to win. So that is my preview. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and look forward to the interview I'll be posting next week on this channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.